We've got some playoff-bound teams not looking so playoffy on Wednesday. Bad decisions, holes in the starting pitching and bullpen, bad managerial decisions, and offenses exposed. This is MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Thanks for being here for this edition of Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night. My name's Jon Frisch. I'm one half of the hosts of Locked On Angels. With me is J.D. Hafron, the host of Locked On Cardinals, and a runner-up in the World Air Guitar competition. Great job, JD. Hey, coming up on today's show, the Yankee fans calling for Aaron Boone's head is starting to make sense. The Pirates lead the league in this particular accomplishment, and the AL wildcard picture is starting to look a whole lot different. Before we get to all that, I want to thank our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. If we win, JD and I are going. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament, and it ends October 31st, 2025. JD, we're going to take it to the National League with a battle of two powerhouses, the Phillies and the Brewers. Phillies took game one of this three-game set with the Brewers on Monday, and they had an off day in the middle of it yesterday, and they're back at it again on Wednesday night as Milwaukee aimed to maintain their status as the top dog with a W in the National League. Christian Yelich was scratched with lower back soreness before the game, something that Brewers fans do not want to hear. But despite that, the Brewers were able to even up the series with a 6-3 win. Chuck of Locked On Brewers has the details on how Milwaukee evened up the series against Philadelphia.
The Brewers ride a big first inning and get behind the veteran left-hander Jose Quintana, and they erase the bad taste out of Monday's loss, and they bounce back here tonight. Hey everybody, Chuck Freeman. It's the Reaction Locked On Brewers. A 5-run first inning against Aaron Nola, who had all sorts of issues in the first inning. He eventually settled down, but the damage was already done. Quintana, by the way, went into the 7th inning. I know some people thought he should have been pulled early. Man, he was still going strong and all that. Why not stretch him out, save some of the bullpen? He did give up a booming 2-run home run in that inning, and he was pulled. Allowed just 3 runs on the night. Quality start for Quintana. He'll take it. Jared Kenney got the save. They used a rebate in the 8th inning. Ike Collins, a 3-run homer early on, and all is good with the Milwaukee Brewers. They get the win and rip another day off the calendar with the Brewers having the best record in baseball. All right, we'll see you a little bit later on tonight. The next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe.
Yeah, Chuck mentioned the Brewers getting to Phillies starter Aaron Nola early, and with October looming, Connor Thomas of Locked On Phillies explains why his trust has run out with Aaron Nola.
The Phillies fall to the Brewers 6-3 tonight in Milwaukee, and the big story is Aaron Nola with another terrible start. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies, and Nola goes out and gives up 5 runs before he records an out. I mean, I know he's been bad in first innings since coming back off the injured list, but that's another level of bad in the first innings. I mean, not even the first inning. Without getting an out in the game, you've already given up a hit batter, a home run, multiple hits. I mean, it's a mess, and it's every single time Aaron Nola has taken the mound this year, it feels like he's got a blow-up inning, and recently, it feels like it's right off the rip. And that's not something that you can survive in the postseason. There's no way you can trust this guy going forward, especially not in October. I don't know where that leaves the Phillies rotation, but I'm over it. I'm done trusting Aaron Nola at any point this year. It's time to reevaluate. I'll talk about more how the Phillies can do that in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Phillies.
Connor is certainly more locked into and locked on the Phillies than I am, but maybe I'm the eternal optimist, JD, and I have to be when I'm a fan of the team that I'm a fan of. But I don't know that the Phillies rotation, especially in the playoffs, is that bad. Like, they've got Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Jesus Luzardo, and then maybe one of Aaron Nola, Taijuan Walker. And, you know, with how short starters go in the playoffs and all the off days in between, do you think the Phillies can pull it off with like 4.5 guys in the postseason? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. The only thing that would be going against them is the fact that they're all left-handed pitchers. So you run into a team that's got a lot of righties and hits the left-handers pretty well. Maybe that's an issue for you, but all three of those guys have had their moments of being really, really good this year. I think the one that's kind of bounced back and forth a bit has been Luzardo, but, Sanchez has been incredible. Ranger Suarez is come in my eyes, he came out of kind of nowhere and to be as good as he has been for them and has stepped up in the absence of Wheeler. So definitely possible, but it's incredible to see how bad Aaron Nola has been this year.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem to be getting any better for this guy. I mean, over his last 7 games, 8.21 ERA. That's not good, John.
No.
You don't like that. And this is a guy that you've relied on for how many years in Philadelphia, and for him to be this bad, and and I'm sure that there's people there go, he'll be fine, we'll get it. But man, I'm like Connor on this one. I am completely nervous to trust Aaron Nola at all near the end of September or going into October. It's just been that bad for him.
Yeah. I didn't even think about the fact that those top 3 guys, all lefties. I mean, you should have thought of that maybe back in July before the trade deadline. And I know Wheeler went down.
But you had Zach Wheeler. The Zach Wheeler thing really, put a wrench in their plans. I mean, that was your top dog, and you think you could go Wheeler, Sanchez, and then another one of the lefties, break them up, and have maybe Sanchez go in game 1. Then you come with Wheeler as the righty, then go back to one left, and now it's just
all lefty, all right-brained people and left-handed guys. All right, let's take it to Houston after a weird game that had everybody talking about Framber Valdez's behavior on the mound today. The Astros, they continue to battle it out in game 2 of this series in Houston. The Astros look to even it up at 1 apiece, and they do that with their offense rallying back against the Yankees in the 8th. We'll talk more about that in a second, but Yordan Alvarez, a 4-for-5 day with a run scored and an RBI. Jeremy Pena with a home run, ended up with a 2 RBI day. Altuve, Urias, Taylor Trammell with RBIs of their own, and it was 4-4 going into the bottom of the 8th inning when Aaron Boone turned to
burned his team.
He burned his team. He turned to Devin Williams. So Brian of Locked On Yankees is in absolute disbelief that Boone and the Yankees went down this road again with Devin Williams. Let's hear from Brian right now.
Once again this year, in the Yankees' most important stretch of the year, their manager directly results in losing them a game. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. Who in their right mind would have possibly thought that bringing in Devin Williams in that spot was the right spot? It's absolutely bona fidely, undeniably insane if you've watched a lick of Yankee baseball throughout the entire season to think that Devin Williams in the 8th inning of a must-win game is the right call when your entire bullpen is more rested than it could have been rested throughout the entire season. I can't get over this call. Unbelievable. Boone gets thrown out of the game because he's got to show how tough he is. Devin Williams gets ejected too, even though he was getting pulled out of the game anyway. What an unbelievably pathetic decision as the Yankees lose 8-7 in a heartbreaking game. We'll be discussing all of it on Locked On Yankees. You're going to want to hear it.
Yeah, it was a big rally there in that 8th inning. The Astros went up 8-4. Yankees got 3 back in the top of the 9th, but it wasn't enough to get the job done. Now, you and I have kind of laughed at the fact that so many Yankee fans are calling for Aaron Boone's head and wanting him gone. But, we've said, well, he's a guy who's gotten them to the playoffs. They were in the World Series last year. But even as fans of other teams, we know that going to Devin Williams is bad, right? This is bad, JD, isn't it?
It's pretty bad. I mean, if you take away Devin Williams' name, just eliminate that from what you know about him and just look at the guy that has been coming to the mound for you all year long.
Yep.
Why would you ever bring him into a situation where a game is tight, especially against a team, like Brian mentioned, where this is a must-win game against a good team in Houston? I mean, he's been terrible all year. And I don't know where he ranks among the bullpen arms for the Yankees, but he can't be anywhere near the top where you want that guy coming in a pressure
not the 8th
situation.
inning, that's for sure.
No, it's absurd. And it's one of those situations where you see him make the move and you're wondering if he's just looking at the people around him What do you guys think? You think Devin? Should we give him a shot? You guys want to try him? You want to try him?
You think this time is the chance, the time?
The results speak for themselves, man. He cannot be trusted. No. He can't be. You just can't use him in those situations right now. And shame on you, Aaron Boone, for making a decision like that.
Yeah, and the crazy part is that Max Fried went 7, and then Paul Blackburn went 2 yesterday. So they had their pick of the litter out of that bullpen. And in a tie game in the 8th inning, it wasn't quite the heart of the order of the Astros, but still, like, you got to go to that 8th inning guy, and it certainly has not been Devin Williams this season. Hey, the Pirates, they can pitch, JD. I don't know if that's news to anyone here, but they lead the league in this stat, and we'll tell you all about it. That's coming up on MLB Game Night.
Today's show being brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Time to fuel up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Flavors like grape, ginger, and lime. Those are some of the favorites of our everydayers. Should be one of yours as well, whether you're out on the golf course or maybe you just need a little extra push to power through the day. 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the flavor you love and gives you the energy you need. And golfers, you know that golf is all about having a good time with good people and good flavors. You wouldn't do it if it was that miserable out there on the golf course, would you? Would you? But just like the grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion, it is just a great time to be out there. Good time to have that with you to get you through 18 holes if you need it that day. Maybe you're playing 9. You just need an extra pick-me-up. You can get it. Just buy, snap, and infuse your drink. And when you do, you'll have a chance to enter and win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025.
We're back here on an MLB Game Night where we're taking it to Pittsburgh, and the Pirates and the Dodgers, they started this series with a big offensive game. Pirates won the first game 9-7, and it was a feel-good win for the Pirates, but they did rely on a lot of veterans who might not be around next year to get it done. Today was a little bit of a different story, as this one was all pitching from the Pirates side. Gary of Locked On Pirates, he shares on how the young arms got it done for Pittsburgh against the mighty Dodgers offense.
Game 2 of the series goes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. 3-0, their 17th shutout of the season. Hey, this is Gary from Locked On Pirates. Man, the Bucks just keep tossing out duos of young pitching at these bigger teams, and they're either not scouted all that well or they are as promising as they look like they might be. Tonight, it was Braxton Ashcraft and Mike Burrows, and I'm not going to say it was smooth sailing the entire time. Braxton Ashcraft loaded the bases a couple of times and weaseled his way out of it. Mike Burrows pitched in and out of the raindrops himself. The Dodgers left 10 men on base. The Pirates were no slouch at that either. They left 7. 2 big swings of the bat in this one, though. Brian Reynolds, a home run. Andrew McCutchen, a home run. Really all the Pirates needed. They would add on another later. But, Joey Bart had a really good night offensively as well. But, yeah, Pittsburgh Pirates can pitch. And, boy, can they pitch their ass off. So, no matter who you are, that's the first thing you got to do. You're going to have to hit better than you normally do, even if you're a good hitting team. Because this is a good pitching baseball team. And, man, it's been fun to watch. Tomorrow, going for the series sweep, the Pittsburgh Pirates are sending to the mound Paul Skeens. Can't wait. More on this tomorrow on Locked On Pirates.
Yeah, as Gary mentioned, the league-leading 17th shutout of the year for the Pirates as they take it 3-0. Now, Shohei was going to get the start in this one, but he was scratched with illness beforehand, but he did stay in the lineup. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts said he'll likely pitch this weekend. It feels like Gary, obviously has a good pulse on this team because they have great pitching and they need the bats to go along with it, kind of like what we discussed last night about the Pirates. Tomorrow, as he mentioned, Paul Skeens on the mound versus Blake Snell. Going to be a great matchup. I think I'm going to tune in for that one tomorrow, JD. Let's take it over to Chicago, where the Cubs have already taken the series in this 3-game set, but the Braves are trying to salvage a series win on Wednesday. They'd get it with a 5-1 win with help from the newest Atlanta Brave. Let's hear from Jake of Locked On Braves on who the hero was in this one.
Ha-Seong Kim doing in 2 games what Nick Allen couldn't do the entire year for the Atlanta Braves. Hit a home run and a win for the Atlanta Braves. Jake Mastriani here from Locked On Braves. And what an exciting game for the Atlanta Braves on a Wednesday night. They get a 5-1 win over the Chicago Cubs, avoiding the sweep. But more importantly for the future of this team, Ha-Seong Kim with a big moment. Just his second game with the Braves after getting a pair of hits in his first game. He hits a big 3-run home run on Wednesday night, propelling the Braves to a victory against the Cubs. So a great moment for him. Great to see for Braves fans. Hoping to see a little bit more power out of that shortstop position. They got it tonight. Kim in his first 2 games has certainly endeared himself to the Braves fan base already. Bryce Elder got a mention on the mound. Another great start for him. He was absolutely fantastic in this one for the Atlanta Braves. 7 strong innings, allowing just 1 run. He is on quite the roll right now. We'll talk more about this one over on the next episode's postcast, which you can find in your Locked On Braves podcast feed.
Yeah, as Jake mentioned, first home run from the shortstop position for the Braves all season. It went to Ha-Seong Kim with a big one off the Cubs' Drew Pomeranz in relief. The Cubs had their stud rookie starter, Cade Horton, on the mound, but it wasn't his fault the Cubbies fell. Sam Ober of the Locked On Cubs podcast shares who he thinks is the culprit in today's loss for Chicago.
The headline tonight's going to be the offense again, and it's been the headline negatively all second half. But I'm going to go into a different direction. I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast. Cubs get beat by the Braves handily on the back of a 4-run 7th inning of the Braves. And who started that inning? Ben Brown. And I just don't get it. I just don't get why Ben Brown is still pitching critical innings in September. I know the Cubs have a bunch of injuries, but with a day off tomorrow, isn't there something else we could have done? I know hindsight's 2020. I felt like they escaped the 6th with Ben Brown. Why did he have to start the 7th? His ERA is near 6, and it just feels like every time he comes into a big game for the Cubs, or a big situation, it just always goes wrong. And he was the start of that 4-run inning. I know Pomeranz gave up the big 3-run homer to Kim, but 2 of those runners were Browns, and I just the urgency thing. You have a chance to sweep the Braves, and we're pitching Ben Brown in a 1-run game. I know it was on the offense, but I just feel like there has to be a different direction you could go.
Yeah, now Ben Brown did end up taking the loss. He's 5-8 on the year with a 5.98 ERA. He had a good 6th inning, and he struck out the side while allowing a walk. But JD, is there something to be said about letting a guy like Brown, take the win, so to speak, let him have a good inning, call it a day, instead of pushing him out there for the 7th inning? Or is this hindsight is 2020, like Sam mentioned?
It's a little bit of both. When you get to this point of the season, a lot of guys are dealing with aches and pains, and there's only so many bullets in the gun over there in your arm that perhaps, Craig Counsell is thinking, all right, let's see if we can get at least one more inning out of him. Let's push it a little bit. These are the Braves, maybe we can get away with it, and it backfires, which is, you're like, that sucks. And you're like, I wish I had pulled him. Again, Pomeranz, he didn't do anything special either right after he came in. So, but, like Sam said, you look back at it and you wish you had gone in a different direction, but you're not going to beat a lot of teams when you only get 1 run on 4 hits in a game, which is something that, like he pointed out, that everybody's going to point at the offense, but there's other things to this team. But offensively, you just got to do more. You just have to if you're the Cubs, and you can't rely on a bullpen that has these kind of holes in it, where there are dudes that are in the bullpen that you don't necessarily trust, and are probably going to get touched up for 1 or 2 runs. So you got to be able to put more guys across the plate if you are Chicago, something that they haven't had a whole lot of trouble with doing throughout the entire season. But it kind of boils down to that for this game.
Yeah, and recently it has been the offense that's been pretty spotty for the Cubs. That they'll have a huge breakout game.
Again, dealing with that calf injury that he suffered. So we'll see how long he's going to miss, but they're hoping to have him back for the weekend.
Yeah, they're going to need him if they want to keep it rolling. So sure. At the end of the day, it's a series win, and you'd like to beat the Braves 3 times in a row, but you got to take the good with the bad there. All right, this reliever might be making the Mets say, "What the Helsley?" That's next on MLB Game Night.
Today's episode being brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, especially at this time of year when your team is pushing for a playoff spot or trying to hold on to a playoff spot. But actually getting tickets to those kind of games, that's the tough part. You know, you're dealing with queues and login screens and surprising fees. That's the thing that angers me the most. It just takes the fun out of the whole experience. And that's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. It used to drive me nuts when I would go to other places and you're like, oh, that looks like a good deal. And then find out, no, it's not a good deal whatsoever. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than the other places that I bought tickets. That is why I trust Gametime. It's why I only use Gametime when it comes to tickets. Not only for baseball, though. I'm talking about all the leagues, NFL, NBA, college sports. Download the Gametime app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. We'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today.
So the Mets and Tigers met for the first two games where the Mets took the first two games, I should say, of the series. They outslugged Detroit 10-8 and 12-5. The Tigers trying to avoid the sweep with their former number one overall pick, Casey Mize, on the hill against Clay Holmes. And it was Mize who would get the upper hand. He allowed just one run over 5 innings, struck out 3. It was a 3-2 ball game until the 7th inning, and that's where Kerry Carpenter busted it open with a 3-run jack against reliever Ryan Helsley, his 23rd of the season. It would make it 6-2. That's where this one ended, 6-2 in favor of the Tigers. JD, I'm going to throw this one to you because Helsley is a former Cardinal, and I'm sure all the Mets fans out there are blaming you for this meltdown right
now. Well, if they ever watch Lock on Cardinals, they never would have made the deal in the first place because this year has been it was tough for Helsley. Even though his numbers weren't they weren't nearly as bad as what they have been in New York, because it's been a nightmare for Helsley so far since coming over in that trade with the Cardinals. But you could see that there were problems while he was the closer in St. Louis. And since his trade to New York, things have gotten way worse. The rating in a reliever of the year, mind you, has made 14 appearances since going to Gotham, 0-3, has allowed 18 runs, 14 of them earned, 19 hits, 3 home runs, is 0-4 in save opportunities. Opponents are hitting a whopping .358 against him. The guy has got 2 pitches. He's got a fastball. He's got a slider. When the Cardinals traded him away, opponents were hitting .400 against that fastball. The slider was the one that he was getting away with and he was getting people out with. And people have learned quickly that, okay, well, I just will never swing at the slider and I'll just key in on the fastball. And he's getting pummeled, and it's happening over and over and over. I don't even know. They might have made him walk to the next series that the Mets are going to. It has been a rough go for Helsley. Great guy. Feel for him that things have been this difficult, but it has been a disaster for New York as far as that Ryan Helsley trade. One of the guys that the Cardinals got for him, which is he's an A-ball, already has 3 home runs. You know, he's got as many as Helsley has given up for the Mets. Jesus Baez is his name, by the way. So he's got as many already as Helsley has given up for the Mets. So, and that's not good for New York.
No, that's not breaking even at all whatsoever. Let's take it to Boston. The Sox won the first 2 games of this series, but it was the Guardians coming up big in the finale on Wednesday. Here's Justin Latta of Locked On Guardians with the results from Fenway.
First 2 games at Fenway, every time the Guardians took the lead, they gave it right back. Not on Wednesday, though. The Guardians got a 1-0 lead in the first inning and then scored 6 in the second, thanks to a Gabriel Arias home run, his first at bat back from an injured hand. The Guardians held on for a win. Justin Latta from Locked On Guardians. A very weird second inning that actually went the Guardians' way, a weird Fenway Park inning, because that's just what happens. There was a catcher's interference call, an error, a wild pitch, but you know what? The Guardians got runs. They held on to it because Joey Cantillo pitched one of the best games he's pitched in a while. He only had 1 walk. He was in the zone all night. The Red Sox lineup didn't do much against him. They didn't do much against the bullpen. The Guardians kept them at bay the entire game. So they are somehow 3 out of a wild card spot, and they go to Tampa Bay. Then they go to Kansas City. They come home against Kansas City after that. 2 teams that they are directly sandwiched between the wild card spot. after the Mariners lost on Wednesday. So the Guardians are still playing meaningful baseball. What does that mean, and how important is that at this point where the roster is? We'll talk about that on Locked On Guardians. Make sure you're there.
Yeah, it feels like a roller coaster if you're a Guardians fan, because 1 week it's over, and the next week, hey, we're 3 back, and there's a lot of games to be played here. So
if you like roller coasters, then this is the ride for you, Cleveland. You're having a blast.
Exactly. You must be this tall to ride that ride. Really bad news for Boston is that Roman Anthony's regular season could really be in jeopardy with that oblique strain that we talked about yesterday. It's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks. That's typically how long it takes for that type of injury to heal. So his status as the season comes to an end is in jeopardy. Let's take it to Cincinnati, where the Reds and the Blue Jays wrapped up their 3-game series with each team winning 1. And for a brief moment, the Reds had the upper hand, scoring 5 runs in the second inning off Jays starter Shane Bieber. But we all know how this potent Toronto offense can be. And after spotting Cincinnati the lead, they went to work in a huge way. From the 3rd inning onward, the Jays scored in every single inning, smashed 5 home runs. They came back to defeat the Reds 13-9. 4 of them came against starter Zach Littell. George Springer goes deep in the 3rd. Dalton Varsho and Alejandro Kirk leave the yard in the 4th. In the 5th inning, it was Addison Barger to tie the game. Vladdy Jr. takes the lead 6-5, and the Jays never look back. Toronto got 18 hits in the win, and over the 3-game series, they hit 11 home runs. Thank you, Great American Small Park. And then George Springer in particular, he's been really hot in his last 11 games, 19 for 44 with 6 home runs and 10 ribbies. So Blue Jays staying atop the AL East, while the Reds are slowly seeing their wild card chances slipping away. JD, take us to St. Louis, where your Cardinals hosted the Athletics.
Yeah, they had a tight one on Tuesday. Pitchers duel in St. Louis. Cardinals won that one by a score of 2-1. Rubber match featured 2 left-handers. It was Jeffrey Springs for the A's against the Cardinals' Matthew Liberatore, and both guys pitched very, very well in this one, but it was actually Libby coming away with the win. He goes 5 1/3 shutout innings, just 4 hits, 7 Ks. Springs, he was fine. 2 runs over 6 innings and 4 Ks. The defense let him down on a bloop double by, or was it a double? It was a single, and he got thrown out at second, but it was Wilson Contreras, bloop double into right field that Brent Rooker lost in the lights. He just kind of, and it just, we were like, oh my gosh. Willie ended up going 3 for 4 in this one, and knocks in 4. Gorman 3 for 3 with his 14th home run of the year. Those 6 hits, the Cardinals as a team only had 7. And those 2 dudes had 6 of them. So Cardinals win at 5-1. They take 2 of 3 in the series. A's have dropped 5 of their last 6. Both teams will have the day off on Thursday. More good news for Cardinals fans because they're still obsessed with Yadier Molina, which is fine because he's one of the GOATs. We'll be back in town for the team's Hall of Fame inductions, and we'll be in the dugout this weekend when they take on the red-hot San Francisco Giants at Busch Stadium. So that should excite some fans.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see Yachty back in the building. The Marlins and the Nationals swept this series with a 10-5 win, just their second 3-game sweep of the season, and they did it against the mighty Marlins, who are not so mighty these days. They had a big day from Nasim Nunez, a 2-homer day, bringing the good vibes, bringing the good energy to this team. All I saw from Nationals fans on social media was like, this guy, keep him around. He's the guy. He's the glue guy on this Nationals team. So again, Nationals sweep the series with a 10-5 victory. JD, will you take us to Minnesota, where the White Sox meet the Twins for their?
I would love to, John. I would love to. After taking the first 2 in the 4-game series, Chicago showed everyone why this game goes 9 innings. You gotta play all 9. Twins are up 3-1 in the top of the 9th, and the Sox roar back with 3 of their own thanks to a Michael A. Taylor 2-out, 2-strike, 2-run double. They barely hit the foul line in left field. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Completes the comeback victory over the Twins at Target Field by a score of 4-3. Grant Taylor earned the win, striking out 2 over an inning and a third scoreless. It was his first victory as a professional player, so congratulations to Grant. Sox will go for the sweep on Thursday.
There you go. Taking you to Kansas City, where everybody knows Bo Jackson, Royals legend, and his famous saying, Bo knows. Well, this time it was Joe Adell for the Angels who stole that phrase, because tonight Joe knows. He drove in all 4 Angels run in the 4-3 victory tonight, hit a 3-run homer in the 6th, the second night in a row where he hit a go-ahead home run in the 6th inning. So Joe Adell in the 6th inning, baby. That's what you want. Royals evened up the score, but with a runner on third, Joe Adell hit a squibber that Bobby Witt Jr. couldn't handle, and the winning run scored. Joe Adell's at 90 RBIs on the season, 33 home runs, and then Angels got one of their pitching prospects, Caden Dana, called up to start this one. Pitched very well, but my favorite part, JD, he wears number 36, like my favorite all-time Angel, Jared Weaver. He's even got the long blonde locks like Weaver, but the difference is that Dana throws a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and we all know that Jared Weaver did not do that, but still a legend in my mind. I love Jared Weaver. All right, take us to Tampa, my friend. Let's find out what went down between the Mariners and the Rays.
Yeah, the Rays took the first 2 games against Seattle. They went for the sweep on Wednesday and absolutely pounded Seattle starter George Kirby to the tune of 8 runs on 10 hits in 2 innings. John, Yandy Diaz had his first 5-hit night as a professional, and the Rays, as a team, poured on 19 hits altogether. Didn't hit any home runs in this, which is really weird for that ballpark, but they went 8 for 15 with runners in scoring position. That completes the sweep, extends Tampa Bay's winning streak to 6 in a row, tied for the club's longest of the season, and brought the Rays within 2.5 games of the Mariners, who have now dropped 14 of their last 20. What is going on in Seattle?
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That's what happened with the Rays, man. They're right back in it. Let's talk about another playoff-bound team who, again, didn't look so playoffy today, and that was the Padres. The Orioles swept them with a 7-5 victory. They had back-to-back-to-back jacks from Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, and Alex Jackson off Nestor Cortez. Second time they've had 3 home runs in a row. 7-5 sweep of San Diego. And Mason Miller put up a immaculate inning for the Padres, but wasn't enough because the Orioles swept this one. All right, JD, take us up to the Rocky Mountains, my friend.
Yo, Giants on a bit of a heater right now. They've won 3 in a row, took the first 2 in Denver, and Wednesday was your typical Coors Field special. The 2 teams combined for 18 runs and 23 hits. Once again, though, it's the Giants coming away with the W by a score of 10-8. Matt Chapman had a huge day. Was all worked up after getting tossed from last night's game. He goes 3 for 4, blasts 2 home runs, drives in 4 to lead the way. Rookie outfielder Drew Gilbert also hit a home run. The Giants have now set a San Francisco era record, because you remember the Giants weren't always there, but the San Francisco era record by homering in 17 consecutive games. They've won 9 of their last 10 and are now 4 games back in the wild card.
Told you, things are getting flipped here in the month of September. All right, finally, let's take it to Rangers meeting the Diamondbacks. They got great starts out of Jack Leiter for the Rangers, Zach Gallen for the D-backs. They both went 6 innings. Leiter gave up just 2 earned runs in the first 2 innings, and then the D-backs, they just pitched a shutout against the Rangers in a 2-0 win. One of the runs off Leiter came when a runner scored on a Jake Berger error. That error ended a Rangers franchise record of 19 straight games without an error. Surprisingly, the Rangers have like the best defense in all of the league this season. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On MLB Game Night. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We got Steve and Lindsay tomorrow night, so we hope you'll come back and visit us for more MLB Game Night, where it's every game, every night.
Happy NFL opening day. Whoop, whoop.